call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everybody. Let's see. All right. We're moving on to item 3, approval of minutes of meeting held on November 14th. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We do not have anyone wishing to address the board tonight. So move on to item 6, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes, and we are on to the good news report. Deanne.
Good evening. I'm having a bit of a technology fail at the moment, but let's see if I can. I'm just going to skip the technology. I'm here to announce tonight the start of our nomination process for the 35th annual Dr. John W. Harris Sioux Falls Teacher of the Year Award. Dr. Harris was a beloved educator, of course, who served the Sioux Falls School District for many years. And at one point in time, he said, human contacts are the key element to education. What we're really trying to do is open doors and expand horizons. The horizons are different and the doors lead to different opportunities, but what we are about has not changed. And that is true of the Sioux Falls School District and the commitment of its teachers to provide the best quality education possible to our students. And so in his honor, the award was named 35 years ago. And since that time, we've been able to highlight many excellent teachers, everyone from those preschool teachers who are helping out with our youngest learners all the way up to our high school teachers. And so it's been a grand process to read all of those nominations, and we're encouraging the community to start making their submissions now. The criteria for selection is that a teacher have 3 years experience. They teach at least 3 hours per day, 5 days a week for 6+ calendar months during one school year. And this can be a teacher in any Sioux Falls accredited school. So certainly Sioux Falls Public, as we have the largest number, nearly 1,900 teachers, we hope that the nominations will reflect the quality of teachers that we have in our classroom. When you are making a nomination, criteria for selection should include differentiating instruction based on meeting a student's needs, designing engaging lessons to improve classroom and school culture, inspiring students to recognize their potential impact and role in the larger community. And we know that many of our teachers in our buildings do implement the community service model so that our students understand that life is more than just about that classroom, more than that school building, but we are a part of a larger community and need to continue to commit our time and energy to making the lives of all better. Additional considerations should be that the teacher have a path for professional growth. They're perhaps taking classes or have been a leader in their building of some sort, involvement in the community, dedicated to the teaching profession, and then of course having a wonderful rapport with students, parents, and their fellow staff members as well. So anyone can make a nomination for Teacher of the Year. All of the nominations are taken online. You can submit anywhere from 200 to 350 words, so you can tell it's not a real difficult nomination process, and then you can have some additional support letters to go along with that, up to 3 additional support letters. The process is really great to see. We've already had a number of nominations coming in. I believe when I checked earlier this afternoon, there were 12 nominations that seem to have all qualifications met already. So this does continue to be a competitive process. And then we have a panel of community judges, a former Teacher of the Year, and one of our school board members who ably sits on that committee to select the Teacher of the Year. Our nominations are due Monday, January 16th, and our celebration event this year is scheduled for February 27th. So we encourage our community to consider the great teachers that they've experienced, whether they be their colleagues, their teachers of their own children, or there's been many heartfelt nominations that have been made by students as well. And they're all great, and it's a wonderful privilege to read those and know that we are in great hands in the Sioux Falls Public Schools. Any questions?
Thank you for making that announcement, and hopefully I know we'll see many, many more nominations come through, and it's a fun event to recognize our teachers. So,
yeah, so we know everybody's busy, and this is a busy time of year, but hopefully that tease that it's really not a lengthy nomination process will encourage folks to just take 15 minutes, sit down, and really think about the qualities that they appreciate in the educators that we have here in Sioux Falls.
Thank you. All right, we had no new conflicts of interest for this meeting, so we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We'll move on to item 10A and 1, supplemental consent agenda for claims to Sanford Health. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes with one abstention from Board Member Ryder. Then we have items 10B. 1, approval for claims to Avera Health. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes with one abstention from myself. All right, moving on to the reports of the superintendent. Dr. Stabrum.
Yep, I'm going to first turn it over to Mr. Veek to review the budget guidelines. If you remember last week, we went over the first part of this, and this is the second part.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we did our guidelines, our timelines last time, and so we're going to get the guidelines ready, and then we're going to meet with our budget preparers next week, and then we'll be off and running. Don't want to, I'm not going to go through, you have these in your materials, I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I'll go through a few. So at the budget committee level, and that's that we've got approximately 19 committees, and they total about 150 members, community members, teachers, other staff of the district, and administrators as well. And so these are the guidelines for them. First one is they'll allocate district resources only to direct achievement, school district mission and priorities. Another key one there is evaluate existing programs to determine their effectiveness of meeting district mission and goals. Every program will justify need for existence based upon research and our performance and data. Continuing on the budget committee levels, we're going to ask for 3 levels of funding this year. One, as always, is your current program. That's what does it take next year to do what you're doing this year. And the example of what that is, a good example of the difference between that and just carrying over the money from this year is if you've added 100 students or 200 students in high school, next year you'll need to add approximately 8 teachers, or you would be raising class sizes if you didn't do that. So you adjust for things like that. Then we asked them to do a 99% of current year program. That's just a 1% cut. And then the lowest level is a 96% of current program, 4%. If you look out over our 5-year plan, we kind of call for an overall 4% cut over a 4-year period. So it's kind of, the 4% is trying to get the budget makers in the mind of what might my budget look like 4 years from now, to get in line with our 5-year plan. And then we do allow expansion packets, they're allowed, and we still ask that they should be offset by a reduction in a cost center of the same subset. So if the elementary program wants to ask for an increase in one area like instruction, they're not supposed to say, oh, cut the high school budget. It's maybe cut the admin or some other library program or whatever. So within your elementary levels of your different budgets, you look at them all kind of in a package. Another one is that for the budget committee level still is impact on program narratives. They must be specific and should relate to the district priorities. Every time you explain what a budget change will do, you should cite what priority will be affected by that or priorities. And then we want to continue to use we have a budget advisory team and we have a central leadership team to propose system-wide reductions that maybe individual preparers want to look at, and then we do that in the committed funds. So that's just an option in case we don't like any of the what's come out of the committees. If we don't want to do those individual reductions, but we say, hey, something big wide, system-wide we can do. Then when we go to the budget review committee level, they meet in March and includes 2 board members. And we're asking that group to recommend funding priorities that support the district strategic plan. We're asking them to align fund balance to the approved 5-year budget plan. So we want to tie those in together. We do that 5-year plan every year, and we want to keep at it and just not ignore it in years 2 through 5. And then prepare revenue deficit options to align with 5-year budget plan. If revenues come in low, well, here's an option for that. If you need to look at some revenue enhancement, you might have to look at that if things aren't matching up. And that's it. We're asking you to approve the FY24 budget guidelines as presented, and I'll stand by for questions.
Thanks, Todd. Any questions?
I feel like this is similar to what we do every year to try to stay on track year over year and kind of take into consideration the things that have happened throughout the year, whether it's COVID money going away or COVID money coming in or whatever it might be. So I think it's always important that we look at the effectiveness of the programs that we currently have so that we're not just renewing things because it's what we've done, but looking at what is actually making the biggest difference and either giving that more time or money or whatever, or getting rid of something that we just can't really prove is being effective. So it's a good opportunity every year for our buildings to be able to look at that in a meaningful way. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, can we get a motion and a second to approve the FY24 budget guidelines?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Thanks, Todd.
Next report, Dr. Boyson with the post-secondary enrollment and district graduates report. And this is an interesting one to look at, and I think will continue to be interesting just considering kind of the post-COVID effect. And one of the things that is also a bit frustrating about this report is that tracking students after they leave us is always a bit challenging. And so we'll talk about where this data comes from, but something that we want to continue to keep our eyes on.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, President. Tonight, post-secondary enrollment report comes from the National Student Clearinghouse, and so that's where the data comes from. The purpose is to provide informational report on our post-secondary enrollments for the district graduates from 2014 through 2021. It falls under the district priority area of academic success, and the information that we start off with is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and they project that 65% of all jobs will require post-secondary education, and the fastest growing fields will be computer programming, healthcare, and community services, and these occupations require high levels of post-secondary education. Employers look for workplace competencies, communication, teamwork, customer service, leadership, and complex thinking. More than a high school education is required for most jobs to qualify for employment. And so this first chart shows the applicants need some type of post-secondary education with a bachelor's degree beyond or associate's degree or some type of certificate in that field, typically for entry-level positions. And then as we look at our Sioux Falls District graduates, as they move on to post-secondary enrollment, the records for the Sioux Falls District come from the National Student Clearinghouse. The National Clearinghouse enables school districts to access the largest electronic student record provider, representing more than 3,600 post-secondary institutions, enrolling 98% of the students in public and private U.S. institutions. Again, the participants have to give access and say yes to having their data released. And so that's FERPA compliant. And so students, if they don't agree to have their information shared, that's not shared. Plus, it doesn't count our military students. So that's the information that's reported. The total number of post-secondary enrollment records for the graduation records and the total number of district graduates may differ from that aggregate total because the National Student Clearinghouse, at any time, students can request to have their data blocked. And so we had, in 2021, we had 1,458 graduates, and only 807 gave permission for their information to be shared. And that's that 55% that you see on this chart that enrolled immediately after high school, the fall after high school. And again, we look at 55%, and you see a slight decrease in in-state institutions and a slight decrease or increase in out-of-state. You know, and you can see that fluctuates. One year we have a higher in-state, and then we have a lower out-of-state. So they go back and forth. So we stay consistent at that 55% of our students enrolled immediately after high school. And then it's interesting to look at the top 10 schools reporting that initial enrollment. And we went back and looked 5 years, and we stay really consistent in the order of where our kids attend. And so you can see USD, SDSU, Southeast Tech, Augustana, University of Sioux Falls, and Dakota State, those top 6 universities. And then as we continue to look at post-secondary enrollment and student progression towards graduation, immediately 60% of those kids enroll right out of high school. And that's that green bar in 2014. And we have to track back that far because remember, for graduation, it takes, we look at 5 and 6 years to get to that finish line, 4, 5, and 6. That second year that they enrolled, 2015-16, we had 49.2% persist, so they continued on, but then we had another 5% or 4.9% start for the first time. And that's, so they, after they took that gap year, they jumped in. And the chart continues on until we get to 2021, because that's the last reported year. We had 44.5% graduate. We had 6/10, so a small number enrolled for the first time. And then we have new, so they're the new to college, and 4.1 persist and 1.6 that are continuing on, and then the no longer graduated. So overall, as we look at the district's graduation, those students continue to pursue enrollment in post-secondary over time. So when we look from 2014 to 2021, we have a 61% overall enrollment in post-secondary. So those students enroll anytime in that first, second year, and even continue into the third and fourth year for the first time in post-secondary. We know most jobs require applicants to have that education and training beyond high school, and employers will continue to look for cognitive skills such as active listening, ability to communicate, critical thinking, that make post-secondary education a requirement. Therefore, we'll continue to gather the post-secondary enrollment data and retrieve that and analyze the information and monitor our graduates as they pursue those opportunities. And I ask that you acknowledge the information, stand by for any questions.
I find it interesting, as I was reading this report this weekend, read a Wall Street Journal article, and with the tight labor market, many of these corporations now are removing college degrees as a requirement, like Google, IBM, Delta Airlines, all removed that like in the last few months. So that is also what probably adds to the number, especially with the job market the last 2 years has been so tight. People are not seeing that as a necessary item to get into the job market. So
We'll see how that trend, if it continues or it reverts back.
Dr. Boyson, am I correct that this data, it's also difficult to track when students change institutions? That's when some of the disconnect happens with the data?
Some of it, and then some of the institutions, they don't retrieve information from them. So yes, if they skip around, it might look like they dropped out because they're not picked up at that next institution.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. All right. So
Yeah, we need to acknowledge the report.
yep, no, I know. I was just making sure no one had any other questions. Can I get a motion and second to approve the post-secondary enrollment graduation report?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't want to stand up here.
That's okay.
Why I was still standing.
Yes, thank you. All right, next up, item 12, review of district policies, regulations.
Yep, this will be quick tonight. As a part of our continual review of policies and regulations, we reviewed 6 policies this month. Policy ECA, GBGA, IKC, JHCB, JLCA, and JLCB. Of these 6, we're recommending no changes to any of them. So with that, I just ask that you approve the revision of these 6 policies.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about policies? Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the revision of the said district policies?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Anything else for good of the order? Sure. Okay. All right, can I get a motion and a second for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.